All right, let's dive into PineScript. This is the language that lets you build your very own custom trading tools right inside TradingView. If you've ever dreamt of creating your own indicators or maybe even automating a strategy, you're about to learn the absolute essentials to get started.
Because really, that's the whole point, isn't it? Taking that strategy that's in your head and putting it to work directly on your charts. So, if you're ready to stop just using tools and start building them, then you are definitely in the right place.
Here's our game plan. First, we'll cover what PineScript actually is. Then, we'll get into the core building blocks, variables, and functions. After that, we'll look at how to make your script smart with decision-making logic. We'll even check out an AI assistant to help you out, and we'll wrap it all up with a clear plan for you to build your very first script.
Okay, let's start at square one. First things first, what is this thing called PineScript?
So think of it this way. PineScript is a specialized language built for one job, and one job only, analyzing financial charts. Unlike a general-purpose language like Python that can do anything, PineScript is designed from the ground up to understand things like price bars. The cool part is it automatically runs your code on every single bar on the chart, which makes it incredibly easy to start working with trading data. Now let's talk about how scripts are actually built. See, every program needs a way to store information. And to do that, we use things called variables. The easiest way to think of a variable is just as a labeled box where you can keep a piece of data, like a price, a name, or even a simple yes or no.
And these boxes are actually designed to hold specific kinds of information. You've got int for whole numbers like 14, float for your decimals like 0.5, and bool for simple true or false values. You can even store text in something called a string or, and this is super useful, chart colors for making your indicators look good.
Okay, now listen up, because this right here is the #1 thing that trips up newcomers. When you create a variable for the very first time, you use a single equal sign. But if you want to change its value later on, you have to use a colon equals. Getting these two mixed up is the most common error by far, so remember this and you'll save yourself a ton of headaches.
PineScript also has what you could call two memory modes for variables. By default, your variable's value gets recalculated on every single price bar. But what if you need to, say, count the number of buy signals? For that, you use the special keyword var. This tells PineScript, hey, create this variable just once and let its value carry over from one bar to the next. It's absolutely perfect for things like running totals.
And this is one of the absolute best things about PineScript. You don't have to go find the basic chart data yourself. It's just there, ready for you, in these built-in variables. If you want the closing price, you just type close. Need the volume? It's just volume. This saves you a massive amount of work and lets you focus on your actual strategy. Next up, let's talk about functions. So if variables are your ingredients, then you can think of functions as your recipes. They're basically reusable blocks of code that perform a specific task, which helps keep your scripts nice and organized. And just like with variables, TradingView gives you this huge built-in toolkit of functions right out of the box. You need to calculate a simple moving average or an RSI? Yep, there's a function for that. Need to see when one line crosses over another? There's a function for that too. And the plot function is your go-to for actually drawing everything on the chart. Of course, you're not just limited to the built-in stuff. You can package up your own logic into custom functions, which is great for code you use over and over. The only rule you have to remember is that you must define your function in the script before you actually try to use it. So, we have our data stored in variables and our tools ready to go in functions. Now it's time to add the brain to our script. This is the conditional logic. It's how you set the rules for making decisions, like when to buy, sell, or maybe just highlight a specific pattern. The most basic decision-making tool is the good old if statement. It's super simple. If a certain condition is true, then do this. You can also add an else part. Otherwise, do something else. This is really the heart and soul of pretty much every trading strategy out there. Now, if you find yourself writing a long, messy chain of if-else statements, checking one thing against a bunch of different possibilities, well, that's where the switch statement comes in. It's just a much cleaner, more readable way to handle those kinds of multi-choice situations. And for those of you who like a good shortcut, there's the ternary operator. It's a way to pack a simple if-else decision into a single line. Look at this example. We're setting a color. If the close is greater than the open, use green. Otherwise, use red. It's an entire if-else statement in one super clean, powerful line of code.
Now, look, learning all these new rules can be a challenge, and it is totally normal to get stuck sometimes. But the good news is, modern tools are completely changing the game and making that learning curve way less steep.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You're staring at your code, you know the logic makes sense, but some tiny little syntax error is stopping everything in its tracks. It can be incredibly frustrating, especially when you're just starting out.
This is where a tool like Pineify can be a total game changer. It's an AI assistant that has been specifically trained on PineScript. You can literally describe your strategy in plain English, and it'll generate the code for you. And even better, it can find and fix those annoying errors and explain why it fixed them. It's kind of like having a personal mentor looking over your shoulder.
All right, we've covered all the core concepts. Now it's time to actually put this knowledge into practice. Trust me, the jump from understanding this stuff to actually building something is a lot shorter than you think.
So here is your action plan, your first quest. Step 1. Just open the Pine editor in TradingView and try plotting a simple moving average. Step 2. Go use a tool like Pineify to generate a basic script from one of your ideas. 3. Spend some time just browsing the official PineScript documentation to see what's possible. And finally, challenge yourself. Try to combine a few conditions like go long when the RSI is below 30 and the price is above the 50-period moving average.
And that really brings us to the final question. With these building blocks, you now have the power to translate your trading ideas into real code. So take a second and think about it. What is the first indicator, the first alert, or the first strategy that you are going to build?